taking that bold step. Why do I say it's a bold step? Everyone fears to start something. Everyone. If someone tells you they woke up one morning and they just said, let me get into business, and they were not afraid to do it, it would be surely a lie from the pit of hell. Now, because starting business takes the boldest people to say, I am ready for it, maybe I'll just give you a bit of background about who I am. So, Caroline here, I am a trained statistician from my bachelor's. I later upgraded. I did my first master's in monitoring and evaluation, did my second master's in population and reproductive health, and then I went ahead and did my PhD in research science. So in simplicity, that's who Caro is. I've been in employment before. I've worked with a number of organizations. I had an opportunity to work and serve with World Vision at some point in my career, served with Care International at some point. I have worked for USAID. I've worked for Feed the Children International in Kenya, and the list could go on. But then there is a time for anyone who has been in the professional space where you feel, I need more. I need more, and I got to that point in life where I felt I needed more. I can give the world more. And that's how this Space Precision Hub started. So Precision Hub, in terms of when was it born? We were born in 2020, in the heart of COVID, when everyone needed a solution. So during that time, I was actually called a COVID reprogramming expert. And you know how you become an expert in the midst of a calamity. It was quite interesting. So I was managing then a portfolio of 63 projects in World Vision, and it was time to reprogram and try to fit the normal programming to the COVID phase. And yeah, during COVID, everyone was a doctor, everyone, like everything that we knew had to work somewhere. So I was that girl within World Vision then. We were the only people that when my team went to the field and they returned to office, no one wanted to sit next to them because we were interacting with the patients directly. We were in the offices of KCCA all the time. And during that time, if you told anyone you were even just near the perimeter walls of KCCA, you are the very person no one wants to get close to. So amid this assignment, we also felt we were being stigmatized. But that's just to give you a bit of history where we came from. So in the middle of COVID, I started a business chain that was a fruits and juices chain. So I also run another business where we provide juices for events. So during COVID, because everything was about mixing a drink, we made all the drinks we could make. We can't say there was research behind it, but as soon as we had, this works, this heals COVID, we would make and people would buy. Did I have the clients then? Yes. I had the clients because where I worked, there were so many expatriates that were not Ugandan, and their families were not in the country, but they needed someone to make them a juice, and they were male. So if your spouse is not in the country and you need someone to supply you juice, Caro was available. So was COVID bad to us? No. For us, COVID gave birth to ideas. COVID made us money. So that's how I started a juice chain then. But still in the middle of COVID, I also registered Precision Hub. Actually, Precision Hub was registered 2 weeks into COVID. What happened? How did we even register? A client reached out from South Sudan. They were looking for a consultancy firm that is female-led and that was into research, but from Uganda. We didn't know any, and people kept telling me, Caro, how long does it take to register a company? So we reserved a name that very day. I didn't even have ideas about the name. A workmate that is a pastor said, I can help you. I know people that can fast track this process. So in a week, we had a firm. We wrote back to the client. That client was none other than Save the Children International. So you can imagine a brand like Save the Children was struggling to find a consultancy firm all the way from Uganda. I would want to say that it was God doing his thing. because I know in the databases of Save the Children, they have so many other clients, but it was carrot season. So we registered in 2020, COVID, we hit the ground, and we never looked back again. Did I leave employment immediately? Absolutely no. Just like anyone that might be in the room here and they're in formal employment, you think twice about this business you're going to start. Will it make business sense? Supposing I don't sell. And in many business platforms, people tell us that it's also okay for you to try out. If you find that it's not working, then you can go back. I hear people say, but I actually say different. Why do I say different? When you start with the whole of you. Whatever you do, research has it that if you do anything every day, diligently for 2 hours of every day, in 3 years you become an expert in the subject matter. Do I align to that thinking? I want to say yes. Because from 2020, I did Precision Hub every day for 1 to 2 hours every day. I either sat alone and researched about what it means to do business, how to sell a product like a service. I did that every day. What time did I get to do this? Office used to close at 5, so from 5 to 7, I never left the offices until 7. So instead of sitting in the traffic from Chisozi to where I was staying then in Bunamwaya, I opted to use the 2 hours of traffic to actually use the free internet I even had in office then to study something about the industry. I read books. I studied the patterns of consultancy work in Uganda. I was able to understand what are the other products that are not available. So I'm giving you this background for you to also think through, what do I need to study about my space? Is it a lost opportunity that I haven't done? If I'm into a sister here, Vicky has just told us she produces candles, she's into crafts and all that. Have I tested her product? Absolutely, yes, I've tested Vicky's product. I am one person, before I used Vicky's products, I used to buy liquid fragrances a lot because I love a room that smells good. It motivates me to work and keep on my desk longer. My team know that if you want Carol to deliver more than should ordinarily deliver, get a fragrance on her table. She will not move. I'll even forget that I'm hungry. So that keeps me going. Now, there is the far a fragrance can take you, because I would buy these fragrances from different, the dealers of perfumes and all that. Then I found out that actually I can have beauty attached to it. The first time I saw Vicky's status, and then I read scented candles, and I'm like, oh, wow, I can actually try them out. Then the first delivery that came to me, so this is part of the sessions we'll talk about at some point in the afternoon. When my delivery came, it was hard for me to believe that this is someone that has not been in the marketing space for long. As she did 4 of the things that we are going to talk about at some point, that for me was what I call delivery at its wow stage. Now, why I call it delivery at its wow, many of us when we're into service delivery, we deliver at average. No client wants to buy average. They want to pay you $5,000, but they want you to deliver at a quality of $100,000. That's the real market we are competing in out there. Now, when the year is beginning, we have one of our services that we provide to business leaders called the Annual Planning Workshop. In that space, we also sit like this. For 2025, we are scheduled to be sitting at Skies Hotel, Nagoro. The team will probably talk to you about it at some point. Now, this year we had annual planning with approximately 75 people We hope 2025 we can double that number, and that's why we're shifting that meeting elsewhere. Some of the members that participated in that annual planning workshop are joining us online because they were somewhere else on an engagement. So they figured they would be late and they opted to log on online at some point. Now, during the annual planning workshop, what do we do? You see, at the beginning of everything, for us we are believers in the room. When you read the book of Genesis, chapter 1, verse 1, it starts as easily as, in the beginning, God. There's nothing we start without God. So at the beginning of the year, you want to begin the year with God. Now, I was sharing with some people during the week, and I told them, when we read that Genesis 1:1, what comes to our mind? It's as simple as saying, in the beginning, God. In the beginning of what? It's actually in the beginning of everything. Do we begin our businesses with God? Do we even believe in the divine when we are starting anything? Now, the challenge for many believers is when I start a product with God, when he gives me that dream, he gives me that vision. As soon as the vision happens, or that dream happens, we then pack God, and then we run with our own wisdom. So it's until we have moved into June, then we remember, oh, I left God along the journey. Now I need to go back. So we are also coming back to that place and say, did I forget God on that journey? Because it's scripture through everything, through prayer and supplication. Make your request known to God. Do we actually give God everything of the business process? So I speak to you with this level of confidence because we are a Christian-founded business. At the beginning of every working day, we start with God. For 1 hour, we come before the presence and we commit that day before the divine. Have we seen the results of it? Absolutely, yes. I like to tell people that meet me and they ask, how have you worked with your team and you've not lost them over time? The lady you see moving there was our very first employee within Precision Hub. Not to sing praises for myself, I'm not sure if within our space we have fought. I've not seen my team fight, and yet we learned on that job. We didn't come knowing what Precision Hub was to provide to the world. But we journeyed together. We have discovered each other on this journey. Now, it's going to happen in your businesses. You're going to meet people. You're going to meet, Joseph, you're going to meet a Carol somewhere as your salesperson. She didn't grow up in your house. She's not your mother's child, so you know her. The challenge is, I am the problem. I am here, and God is in the result, yeah? But I want to drag God from where he is in the result, and I want to bring him in my situation, rather than me moving to where the result is. So today what we are actually reflecting on is how do we move from where we are and go where the result is. Now, for some of us, it will not be a dream, it will not be a vision, but it could be your intuition, and you feel that sense tell you, this can work out. This can turn out into this. God speaks to us in many portals. For some of us, he speaks to us through the voice within. Don't underlook that voice of the product that he's actually talking about. Look at the end. If people ask me, where do you see Precision Hub 10 years from now? I see us covering Africa. I see us in Asia. I see us in Europe. Now, because that's the end, yeah, God has given me as a mirror. And that it's said of Abraham, he was told, as far as your eyes can see. So you can choose how far you will see. You get what I mean? In your business, you will choose how far you will see. Vicky, you can decide today and tell yourself, in 5 years, I should have sold to at least 5 million households my candles in Uganda. Now then you decide, what kind of household am I looking at? Yeah? right now, the census results are out. Uganda has a population of 45 point something million Ugandans. How many of the 45 millions do you want to sell to? Define your demographics from the beginning. Who do I want to sell to, so that you don't try to sell to everyone? The challenge with business is sometimes we want to sell to everyone. And when we go to someone's inbox and they don't buy us, you're like, but my networks, they're selfish, they choose to buy from elsewhere. Are you sure that was your client? You get? Sometimes we're trying to sell to the one who is actually not our client. Now, it's part of the reflections we want to go through, because the many rejections that we have experienced is not because our product was not good. In the afternoon session, we will speak more into, I don't buy Allen's product, I buy Allen first. So in sales, I buy you before I buy your product. So you need to talk about your product so well that I can buy you. I like to ask people the question when I provide other services that I provide, like young people, preparing them for the marketplace, for the workplaces. We do trainings as well to prepare people for that dream job beyond the business arm. And I like to ask them, if you were the recruiter and you looked at your CV, would you hire you or you'd hire your neighbor? By just your CV when you look at it. Now, like a CV is to a job a seeker, so is your business profile to the one out there. Can your profile buy you? If they put you and they got another product that you are aware does what you do, would you buy you instead of the neighbor? Or you would also leave your own product and pick the neighbor's. Now, there are many things that will make you pick the neighbor. How did they package it? The presentation that they put out there is very important for someone to buy you. So with just a bit of that background, I want us to go into the actual reflection that we want to have this morning, how our businesses have been performing. And I have what I would call 5 questions that I ask, that you can ask yourself from a business lens, but also ask it to yourself as an individual. Because I am one of those people that believes you will not thrive on the mountain of economy when you're just a person of one product. Behind you, you have to have multiple income streams. So as you are the CEO of Senjoy, what else do you do apart from Senjoy? Because the world will not just take coffee. The world also wants something else. Are you able to provide the world that something else? So the first things that we need to consider when we're asking ourselves, your success blueprint, the first question you have to ask yourself, who am I? Do I know who I am? Your identity as a person. I may be an amazing worship leader at my church, but beyond worship, who am I? Your success blueprint. Do I know who I am? And your identity starts with, who does God say you are? In one of the challenges we talk about is, I like to tell people, look into the mirror and tell yourself who you are. In our office, last year we had a mirror challenge. It was easier for the ladies. The gents just said, his mirror challenge is not for us. So what we did, because the voices you tell yourself are very important. So we got the mirrors and sat ourselves on the conference table, and you'd look into the mirror and pretend no one else is there, but you actually know that people are there. Then you look into the mirror, and you'd speak to each other, like you having a conversation with yourself. You know, that's how we take ourselves in meetings. You know, that personal meeting you take yourself into, like in your own boardroom where you're having a meeting with yourself, and then you're beating yourself up and saying, I am such a failure. I cannot do this. This is not going to work. That is your identity of self. Now, is that what God identifies you as? He identifies you as a success. He identifies you as a leader. You are the favored one. You are his masterpiece. But when you're by yourself, you say different. One of the challenges we saw when we were having that mirror challenge with my team is many of the guys who were in the mirror, they kept saying, I will be. They are not it, but they will be. So they talked about themselves in the future. And many of us do that. You look into the mirror and say, but you don't deserve it. You see, I like to tell people that every time you meet a person, like for instance, I'll use Vicky as a lady. I meet Vicky, and she's dressed so elegantly smart. Then I say things like, that outfit would look good on me. I have learned the script to tell people the reason why you're telling that person that outfit would look good on you. One, the high chances a jealous spirit is in you. Why do you think you would look good in it instead of complimenting them and telling them they are smart? The first time someone said that to me and I gave them that as feedback, I almost lost their friend. Then I had to explain to them why I was actually saying that. The reason why many times we say that in comparison is we have looked at ourselves and we think we are not worth it. Consider yourself perfect enough to walk out of that room and look in the mirror and say, I am smart, I am amazing, I am a winner, I am a go-getter, I am a success. The voices you speak to yourself determine how your day will be. You know, you are your first prophet. Your attitude is your first prophet. So if you think your product is not good, you will not sell it to anyone. You will not sell it to anyone except yourself and yourself alone. It will stay in your house and you keep convincing yourself, but my product is good. How come people are not buying it 2 years? Why? You've sold it to no one. You talk to 5 people, and those 5 people are probably it's also written. You're the average of the 10 people you associate with. Now, if your 10 people can't buy you, even you can't buy you, change your network. Change your network. I usually use a phrase and tell people, if Timothy was looking for 10 million Uganda shillings now and he had a crisis and he needs the money tomorrow, does Timothy have in his network, 10 people he can pick up a call and 10 million will be in his account in the next 24 hours? Why do we ask those questions? Not everything must refer you to a loan if you needed to succeed at something. Your network is your social capital should be able to close many things for you. So understanding your identity helps you know how you sell, who you sell to, and where you sell it to. Yesterday at our workplace, we were going through a challenge. Every Friday of recent, our administration team came up with a product that they said, how can we paint the world with so much love? And they said, let's get ourselves into an act of service where we put a smile on someone's face and paint love around the world. So we were challenged to text someone, call someone, make them feel good. And I took up the challenge because, it would be unheard that I did not take up a challenge that someone on the team came up with. So I pick up the phone, and it was quite interesting. At 7 in the morning, I'm texting people and telling them how amazing they are in my life. And some of them I had not talked to them for almost over a year. But the mystery that for me happened there was, from the 20 people that I reached out to, all I did was tell them how amazing they are, how they have been a blessing in my life, how so much about me has changed because I met them. Out of the 20, I didn't have to sell a product. I didn't even have to sell my service. they offered us a service. They bought a service without us selling it. Why? Our services are in their faces every day. You can't pretend if you viewed my status and you not find something about Precision Hub. Me, I will not mind whether you send back a message or nice flyer or how much. Like, you know the messages we get on statuses when we put our products there. The fact that it's in your face, it means you actually know what I do. Now that we are chatting and we are greeting each other, and you will be tempted to ask about how business is doing, and that's when we can have a conversation. But if you don't ask, I don't have to. Now, in business, that happens every day. So as we reflect today, do I know my identity? Scovia, what does God say you are? When he defines you as who he thinks you are, he knows you are, do you actually know that that's who you are? Yeah? The other thing you need to also know is, where am I from? Where am I from? And where am I from? We are talking from the lens of a business person. Where is your business coming from? You get? You are not anywhere until you know where you're from. If I understand that my business is from God, I will treat it like a kingdom business. I will know that it is not out for failure, because nothing about God ever failed. Yesterday we only studied, with a certain group of people, we only studied the story of creation. The first 26 verses of the Bible were enough for us to determine that the world can be a success even if we didn't get to Revelations. For us, that was enough, because we looked at God. The researcher and evaluator in me saw God as an evaluator, because every time he created something, he saw it as good. For me, that's evaluation. So if they asked me who is God, I look at God as a monitor and evaluation expert immediately from the story of creation. But then we also got to understand one thing that I had never read about the story of creation. At that time, I had never perceived it until yesterday. From the creation story, I understood that God, he knew how much time he needed to create. He created in 6 days. In your business, how many days do you create? Do you even know how many days you need to create? Year 1, you're creating. Year 2, you're still creating. Year 3, you're still creating. He created all these things in 6 days. And for me, from a business person's perspective, creation is that business plan out there. You create the product, and then he breathed life and gave them the mandate to go and multiply. That's your expansion plan. Do you have a business plan? That's your creation story. Have a timeline for which you say, my business needs to be a success, and I'm going to create the success blueprint in what you call a business plan. The reviews you eventually have after 5 years or 3 years, whichever time frame you give yourself, is a review of what you had already created. Some of us implement before we create. How? As soon as the idea pops in our minds, we are telling the whole world about this thing we are planning to create. It hasn't been created. Now it's to the world. You see, the enemy only comes to do one thing: to steal, kill, and destroy. Now your product is out before it's even out. They will wait for it to come out, and then you say, I changed my mind, I did my research, then it failed, then I found out it will not work. But you had already told people about this product. So once you actually know where you are coming from, that's your story of creation. Then you will know where you're going in your next 5 years. So this is just giving you a preamble of your creation of that product that you're on. The other thing we need to appreciate in just this success blueprint is for us to know why you're even here. I mean, why are you making candles? Are you making candles for the money? Are you making the candles to impact lives? What's the value addition? I mean, while you're there, you're solving a problem. So what problem are you solving? Today, I have actually just learned while in this room that among the products that Vicky produces, she produces mosquito repellents. I feel like that's a product for every house. Because I mean, in a country like mine, and where so many don't want to sleep under mosquito nets, if Ministry of Health had me with that, I would really be in trouble. But where many people don't want to sleep under mosquito nets, you're not going to be in a mosquito net in your living room. You want to catch that movie. When you have mosquito repellents, you are lucky to even be there. You're safe. So it's a safety precaution. It's many of the other things in there. Why are you even there? What's the solution? I consumed a product from Senjoy hardly 2 weeks ago. Now, I discovered something that he never marketed to me. So now I started the marketing for him. He's even hearing about it for the first time. When he was selling the product to me, he said it was a booster, immune booster. Personally, I didn't think I needed to boost my immunity in any way. But I love coffee. So I consumed the product just to take coffee. But then there was something he had said was an ingredient to the product. I had an idea of what it does. But he didn't mention it as a benefit of consuming the product. So when I consumed the product, I came to the office and told the guys, I've taken this thing for 3 days. This thing detoxifies. Everyone moved from their desk and everyone caught coffee at that point. So it was amazing that everyone had a cup of coffee. Why? Because I just said, this product detoxifies. But the owner of the product didn't tell us it was for detoxifying the body. So actually, if you went to our pantry right now, the coffee is done. Why? Everyone went on a detoxification drive. But it's not something he's selling. For him, he's selling an immune booster. For us, we are consuming something to detoxify our bodies. Now, that alone tells you there are so many people who want to cleanse their bodies. Would that be your pitch when you're selling? Because not many will tell you, my immunity is down. But many will say, I feed wrong throughout the week. I need to cleanse up. Might that be your statement of closing sales? So that's my feedback about your product. So if we ever buy from you, that's the main reason we are buying. We are not even buying you for any other reason. So it means you have to be intentional. How often do people detox? Do you want to pitch during Christmas seasons? Tell them, go and consume all the meat you can consume, and after come back detox. It becomes your marketing strategy. Why are you there? What problem are you solving? Now, because in my inbox, many people always ask for detoxes, now I know where to refer them. You get? He can as well hire me as his salesperson because I already have my clients. Someone give me my percentage. So understand, why am I even here? For us, if you asked us, I know why we are here. We took a risk last year, and I took that risk the year before. I knew Uganda loved my products, but Uganda didn't have the money to buy many of our products. We took a wild guess, Vicky. You know, when the whites come to the country, they first go on LinkedIn, do a research about the who is who. They take your contacts. Now, the colored person like Carol, the moment a white is in my inbox, I'm excited to have a meeting with the whites. I've been taken to like 4 meetings with whites I didn't know, and they were asking me the landscape of Uganda, how is research. They were actually laying ground on how they can operate. I could have charged for that service, but the Ugandan in me was happy to be seated with a white man that day. So I didn't charge for the service, yeah, because for me, when they made the appointment, I left everything to just be with them. And one of them has thrived in this country. He is making money. So I said, but this model can work. So I jumped on a flight. I got on a one contact of a person I knew in South Sudan. So I purposed that in South Sudan I would stay for 3 weeks, and in 3 weeks I should come back with business that should take care of my hotel accommodation, the ticket that I paid, but also profit for the business. So stayed in South Sudan for 3 weeks, and just got one person that I knew. He moved me everywhere. He introduced me to all the places I had listed I wanted to go to. All I did was marketing of my service. If it's talking, I trust myself to talk. So talking about my product, I will talk. So I go to the university, and in University of South Sudan, Juba, and I talked about what we can do with the university students. The vice chancellor, they immediately gave us work. That one was a closed deal. They took me to the NGO fraternity. I talked about what we can do in terms of training. We closed that deal. Now South Sudan is our space. I moved from South Sudan, I went to Rwanda. So in Rwanda, I sold the service to this person. I didn't close them immediately. It took me 2 years to close this client, by the way. It was that serious. The first time they reached out to me, they wanted to buy a service. They wanted to write them a proposal. And I told them a proposal goes for $5,000 if they needed me to write a proposal. Senjo, you're looking at me with the expressions of, you're scaring me because of the figure. No, a project proposal goes for $5,000. So the gentleman told me, well, you're quite expensive, but I'll get back to you. So I immediately scheduled a meeting with them and said, can you give me 2 hours to present how we go about it? He was happy to give me a meeting. He was in the US then, so he scheduled for a meeting. When he gave me those 2 hours, I talked about this proposal process to the point that he would be willing to even pay $15,000. And after he listened, it's like I solved all his problems in just that 2-hour conversation. Then he kept monitoring me. I like to tell Christians that your status is an altar. Every time this gentleman, eventually when he reached back to me 2 years later, he said every time he was stressed, he went to my status and he found a sermon. He found a scripture, and that scripture was always his answer. But he never ever got back to me, and he's an Advent. So the reason he eventually came back to buy is like, I'm dealing with a Christian. So when this gentleman eventually was willing to now buy our service, it was much bigger than 5,000. But every time he came to my inbox, we talked well. I never threw him out of the space. Now, many of us, when we are selling our product, if someone doesn't buy our product, we don't want to chat with them anymore. In fact, we block them in our minds. Say, those ones, if you're not buying me, in fact, I delete you from my, you don't know when they will buy. For us, they bought us 2 years later. Now we are their permanent consultancy firm in their organization. So when he was taking us to, when he eventually invited me to Rwanda, to meet his team, for the first time, I walked into a training room, and the entire room had whites, and I was the only black, plus the head of the organization, and I'm being taken there to train whites. It can be intimidating if you've been in a programming space, because also them, they feel, who is this person who is coming to facilitate us on the things we are technical experts at? And then they looked at me and they felt I was too young to be their facilitator because most of them were aged. Until I started speaking. I said, oh, she's good. Oh, she's knowledgeable. Oh, she's fine at what she does. Now, it matters because I also like to tell people many times that your charm can only last you 2 minutes in a room. After you've smiled and the smiles are done, people are waiting for content. What are you going to say? Many people, after the 2 minutes, you're still on, hey, you have a nice shoe. People are now waiting for content. It's no longer the nice shoe you have. What are you delivering at that time? You get what I mean? So when you walk into that room, study your product. Know what the competition has. Be there to solve the problem. That's why I said, why are you there? Yeah? The why you're there, you have to be able to answer why you are not them. Because you're trying to solve what already has been solved. But then what's your value addition? I'll keep comparing this because we buy you first before we also buy your product. Why you are not the other person? And the mistake you don't want to make in such a conversation is not to say, you see, the other person is expensive, so you have to buy me because I'm much cheaper. No, don't even mention their name. Recently, a mistake of a marketer I interacted with, they asked them, so tell us about your product. And they said, well, have you ever taken cappuccino? You get it? That they are marketing, but they are comparing themselves to a brand. You're not yet a brand that is known. Now, the risk in that is as soon as you mention cappuccino, you send my taste buds to cappuccino. So I'm wondering, why should I buy you? When there is actually an option. Now, it could have been fear that has made you even reference another product instead of yours. And we do that all the time. When I had just started doing juice, I used to compare myself a lot against the brand names in the country. So you see, the other guy is good, but he's even not Christian. They're not interested in what you're telling them. Why you give me the benefits of why I buy you. Instead of comparing the other person, maybe tell them what else you're going to give them that the other person will not give them. That will help you close a client. So in the midst of selling, fear will grasp in, and you will forget why you. And we have experienced that. From January to June, now we're in July, and we are reflecting. Why we say come back, we reflect on the business, is you had big dreams. You had big dreams. My dream is this year we should file $2 million US. Have we hit the target? Have we even hit half of it? Not yet. Have I given up? No. I believe that I can redeem time. You change strategy when time is against you. So today we are coming back here to change the strategy. It's the main reason we are reflecting. We know what 2024 should look like in December. We knew that in January. But what we have done for the first 6 months have not brought us close to that. Now we are reflecting on our why. Is it how I handled my why that has denied me that space? The last bit when you're reflecting on business success is you want to know, where are you going? Yeah? Senjoy should not wake up tomorrow and say they had a plan for 10 years, but then there seemed to be a fatty deal that came. Then they changed their mind from the 10-year plan and tell me first go and handle the other fatty deal. It gets me resources to come back and boost up this business. Many of us have tried to do that. To say, let me go and first make money outside, come and inject it in this business. My simple secret for you here will be, every time you step out, you see God is always looking for who is willing to undertake the assignment. Now you are not backing out on you, you're backing out on God. He trusted you as a person to produce that chain. But then you're telling him, God, me and you, let's pack a bit. Let me go and use my own strategies. Then I come back and finance your process. But for him, he's waiting for you to come back to him and say, here we are. I seem stuck. That brokenness. Oh, I need you to journey with me. This thing is taking me on. That brokenness is what God is looking out from each one of us as leaders in the spaces where we are. So with just that background of knowing where you are, we'll now go into what typical reflection of your products look like. Next slide. So these are the essential things you need to look into when you're reflecting. What was my 2024 sales target? What did it look like? Number 2 should be my client communication and business visibility. How am I communicating with my clients? So in the first 6 months, how did I communicate with them? Number 3 is your measure of quality. What does quality assurance look like for your products? For instance, even when Vicky changes her packaging, yeah? When I open any of her tins, I can tell this is coffee. Why? Because I've tested the product before. I don't need just the type of that tin to tell me it's a coffee product. The quality assurance has to be standard. Now, for startups, we may struggle with quality assurance many times because we're not paying attention to those little nitty-gritties. But it's very important. You see, if, for instance, if you are producing T-shirts and you have created a brand for yourself, how do you confirm that I will stay on the market? If Timothy admired a T-shirt on someone and they told them the brand and they went back to buy and they found what was colored, now it has changed, and they're trying to say, no, I want the other one. And you're trying to tell them, even this one is good. We try to do that in marketing all the time. The client saying, I want the other, even this one is good, first try it. They know what they want. Many times clients already know what they want. It does no harm for you to tell them the additional products, but first give them what they want. Then also talk about the additional product that is there. Your quality assurance has to be standard. But also in this space, sometimes we are not honest. When a product is going out of the market, don't just disappear and you fail to communicate. Yeah? Communicate to your clients when the product is not there. Don't first try to gamble. For instance, let's say we place an order and we need something delivered tomorrow. But you don't even have the supplies to make that product that day. Don't just be quick to say it will be delivered tomorrow at this time when you're not even sure your supplier has the ingredients, yeah? Then you wait tomorrow, you can no longer deliver because you couldn't make the product. Then you switch off your phone. We have seen that in business. Because you can't deliver, now you switch off your phone. You get back online 2 days later, the client is even wondering, what happened to my service provider? Did they just die in the period when they were supposed to supply me? What happened? Then when you come back online, then they call you. Probably for them, they were even worried about you, so they call. I tried to reach out. What happened? Say, you see my supplier? They didn't have the supplies. I didn't know how to tell you, so I just had to switch off my phone. Communication is very key in business. What you don't communicate does not get known. Are we together? So I want us to reflect on how have we been managing communication since the year began. You see, sales is emotions. Every time I have bought my candles, now I'm reflecting the candles because the person is in the room and they have done such a good job with me. The first time they sent me things. I don't even know how she knew that I loved beads. So she sent me an extra as a present for buying candles. So you just imagine how candles and wrist beads had any relationship. They didn't even have a relationship. But as soon as I saw it, I even forgot about my candles. I started paying attention on this other extra I was given. Many of us don't give our clients extra of anything. By extra, it can even be extra follow-up. How do you like my product? Did it meet your needs? What can I do to improve and serve you better? And then when the client gives you the feedback on what you should do to serve them better, you become defensive. Many of us are very defensive about our products. no, this product is very good. In fact, you first consume, you will see. In fact, my clients have said, okay, give us evidence of the clients that have said, you get. That defense mechanism is the reason they will not look for you again. They will not look for you again because the other person can argue, yet they are the ones giving you money. You see, when the person is giving you money, they feel like your world should rotate around them. So I guess that's where the prefix of the customer is the king comes from. Now, I'm also here to nullify that while the world says the customer is the king, you are actually the king. You are actually the king. If you market yourself right, you are the one calling the shots. So we are here to just pause and reflect. January to date, how have I been communicating? Have I been switching off my phone when I'm not able to deliver? It goes without the time management. You agree with the client that we're going to meet at 2. You show up at 4. Then you say, we are Africans. But you're the one who agreed on 2. Why are you not delivering on that time? You see, when you know you're going to be late, communicate before. And the timeliness holds true across the entire supply chain. Don't say 2, and then the border guy leaves at 2. You said delivery was 2, but you're looking for the border guy at 2. You get? So all these are part of the reasons maybe why some of our clients have not come back to us. Another thing that we'll probably talk about at some point, we've talked about feedback management at some point, timeliness of your delivery and all that. Now, in the space of quality assurance, let me spend some time there because part of the reasons we have sold to some clients only once and they have not bought from us again. Our quality has not been good. I'll give you a reference. In our juice business one time, we supplied a client. Clearly, it was not even our fault. We delivered to them very fresh juice. But then they were still busy with meetings. They kept the juice in the car boot for another 7 hours before they went back home. So when they got home, the juice had fermented. So they call and say, the juice you sent us has fermented. And yet from that same chain, we had delivered to other households from the same ration. So we made the attempt to call all the rest to confirm is their juice fine. And even though the juice was amazing and all that, we had no time to argue with this one. Said, we are very sorry that you got fermented juice. Please send us the border guy that delivered the juice to you. It's like, no, in fact, you don't have to. We're like, no, it's fine. I guess it was a way how we eventually responded. They didn't send us the border guy, but we knew the location where they were, so we got another border, delivered them fresh juice again in the morning without asking for extra money. When the juice was delivered to them, they had a guest in their house who was a honorable member of parliament that day. Said, the client, the customer, the person you bought from juice, delivered you more juice when actually juice fermented from your boat. And they have not been defensive about this. The first kind of supplier in this industry that we have seen. They are always defensive. Juice people are always defensive, was the statement we had. Now, it meant these are experiences people have had. Like you go to an event, you supply juice and juice ferments. It's not your fault or the other person's fault. You have no control over the weather. So probably in your planning processes, you didn't think about ice cubes, you didn't think about ice flakes that could have managed those processes. So from that person's experience, we learned one thing. When someone calls us from their office and says, deliver fresh juice, we ask you, what time are you leaving to go back home? Can we deliver 30 minutes too? Or do we send your ration with an ice box? If you need us to deliver with an ice box, it will be an extra 10,000 for the ice box. We'll pick the box later. And we have not had issues of fermented juice again. But this client became our routine client because we did not have to defend ourselves. And then later they even came and paid for the juice that we had given free of charge. And this time when they came to us, they came in apology, like, I feel I'm not at peace with myself. The other juice that you know that fermented, when you told me that 7 other people had taken it and it was okay, clearly it was my fault. The juice was in the boot for the whole day. That's why it fermented. I said, it's okay. It happens. And the fact that we're also able to just tell them it happens. How many times do you tell your clients that? You will deliver one-day products and the jars break and it reaches when it has cracked. The client will not know that it cracked during transportation. You get? And you become defensive. I once bought cake, and that cake got to me when it had shifted from its... it had actually broken, and it was at an event. It was actually a wedding at a church I belonged to then. By the time the cake arrived, it had broken, so we just took pictures and sent to the supplier, see what cake has been delivered. She just went off phone because she had delivered with a border. She went off phone and carried another person's cake that was to be delivered the next day, drove the cake to the venue. Some of us, we switch off our phones. People who have been in my spaces long, I tell them of an experience, because I do catering for events. That's the memory that taught me to follow up with a client a day before. We booked up, a client paid for an event 3 months before. You know December weddings, the whole week is for weddings. So we did not realize the wedding was on a Friday and thought the wedding was on Saturday. So I'm chilling in my house, sleeping. It's the wedding day. We have not even started cooking. We have not even bought the things, but we have been paid. But there's an inner voice that kept telling me, first check on these people. But I'm like, but the function is for tomorrow. We shall buy things in the night and all that. So at around midday, I get a call from the chairperson of the wedding. They're asking, when is the catering team delivering the what? The dishes. The person they're asking, we haven't even bought a tomato, but we have been paid. And you're thinking about social media will close us today. I mean, it's someone's wedding. We asked, what time is lunch? Like, I had to find composure of what time is lunch. You can't even tell them, we are not yet cooking. You get? And they said, lunch is at 2. Like, do you mind shifting lunch to 4? I said, what's the problem? Like, just shift for us up to 4. I got off phone. That's when we learned the power of intercession. Said, we need 3 intercessors to just sit here to make sure we deliver food by 4. And then we drove to Owino. Like, it was that serious. We drove to Owino and bought from saucepan to saucepan to saucepan. Like, you open, let me see your rice. Let me see your matoke. And bought the whole market. All we needed was a perfect display, which the team was setting up. People ate food from Owino. Every meat tasted different, I am sure. But they had their food on time. Every time I recall that experience, I fear weddings. In fact, I will call you the whole week. This is to confirm, can we have a site visit? So we learned from experience. But it could have been someone else who just said, let me send you back your money. You know, some people can do that. Now, they choose to send you back the money on the actual day. You have not solved the problem. It's after the wedding that we now look for the client to get feedback on our service. Say, the food was amazing. Your food was so good. And I'm like, can I even replicate the taste of that food? I can't, because it's not even me who cooked it. And we know guys kept calling us after that, like, in case you have an event and it's an emergency, feel free to call us. We bought, matoke was of all colors. So there's that one which is very yellow, there's the one which is not yet. We bought it all and took to the event. But we solved the problem. Imagine you're on a wedding of 500 people and food has not arrived. What do you tell the clients? They will shut you from business. Like Ugandans will come for you on social media. Well, you can be the talk of the... And you can close yourself like that. And many of us, the reasons we have shut out from business is because we didn't manage a challenge well. But for every experience, you should be able to learn from it. What did we learn from that? We learned that it is important to communicate throughout. You see, it's some of the challenges we have, communication. I think it's, I don't know, I don't want to call it an African thing because I think there are people who try better. We are not good at communicating. If Scovia buys from me and she has paid her 50,000, all I'm thinking about is the profit. I'm not interested in talking with her throughout that period of delivery. If you don't talk with someone, supposing they have traveled out of the country, on the day you had scheduled to deliver, will you be mad at them? But you are not communicating. And sometimes they forget that there was a delivery to happen on that day. So successful businesses are a success because of the communication. So the heart of everything, because marketing is communication. Feedback is communication. Quality assurance discussions come from communication. So the heart of your business is how you communicate with your client. So let's just run through that very fast, and then I guess Alan will be preparing for us something. In terms of how your year started, we'll share these slides with all of us. Your business success blueprint is what you will be doing daily to realize your sales. I'll use ourselves as a case scenario. So because we have a target of $2 million US by the end of the year, we have about 12 product lines within the farm itself. So we are aware that there is a product for every month. Like in July, we have the business reflection. So we predetermine how many reflections do we need to have for it to contribute to the bigger goal. Like for now, we have about 3 groups of people that are coming in the space of reflection, including those that asked for a virtual engagement because they are not in Kampala. Now, in your service delivery, once you've determined, you see, what makes it complex is for some of us, when we're advertising our products, you don't tell us your location. So I have your phone number, I'm viewing your status, but I am in Gulu. And you've posted 40,000 only. Then I said deliver, but I'm in Gulu. You have not defined for Kampala clients 40,000. You get? You're not specific to that detail. We get excited when the client, when you say 40,000, the client says deliver. Then you say, send the money first, we deliver. Now they have paid your money, then you find out they're in Imbarara. Say, no, let me send back your money. We only do this for Kampala clients. Be specific to the last detail. Someone posted on the group, on our Facebook page today, they read workshop and they read it as worship. So they wrote back on the page, nowadays we pay for worship. So I wrote back and I greeted the person and said, thank you very much for your feedback. It's actually workshop, not worship. Apologies for the error. Now, there are people who are already stressed wherever they are. They will read some of your things wrong, and they'll attack you, because this person who attacked, we don't even know the person. But they wrote back. So the first thing that ran to my mind, this person either knows me from a church space, or they know this product from a church space, and they read workshop as worship, because probably that's the first thing that comes to their mind when they see anything that involves carol. You get what I mean? Now, what does that mean to me and you? Don't be quick to react. If there's a way we knew the person and it was a phone number, I would actually have gone to their inbox and requested them to come back and pull down their message after they have understood. But because I didn't know the person, and everyone is reading because they were commenting on a sponsored ad. So everyone is reading the comment at that point. Now, if you come back and you don't respond, you're also being rude. I have seen business people come and attack each other on platforms, and you're like, why are you killing your energy? You get? Set your goals in financial figures. Now, when you're setting those goals, there are people who set realistic goals. Well, I am not that kind of person. Set yourself crazy goals. I have a philosophy that says, act like a madman if you need to. It is okay to act mad with your product, like put it in their faces. I like to share with people a story of a person I called when I was just beginning my sales. I was trained by one of the notorious salespeople in this country. It's a guy who tells you, call them 100 times if you need to. Let them continue to tell you, I can't buy today, maybe later. Provided they're still saying later, continue calling them. So I called this client 15 times in 2 days. And they were not picking, and I didn't give up. Maybe they're not near the phone. Like, I would give justifications until the person felt it was too much. And then they sent a message, said, Carol, the reason why I'm not picking is I'm not interested. I'm like, you could have picked a call and just told me you're not interested. I'll be calling another person. But now I know, and I stopped. Was I crazy to continue calling this person? I don't believe so. If you haven't given me feedback, I am not one of those people who say silence is feedback. No. For me, silence is not feedback. You haven't communicated. For me, communication is saying it. So don't give up on your client because they're not replying your messages. If you blue tick me, I will call. Like if you blue tick my messages and you don't reply, because me sometimes the message blue ticks when I didn't mean it to, and I haven't read it. So I'll call you to close this conversation of like just reply me and say not now. Why did you read the message if you didn't mean to reply? So don't just blue tick my messages, Kovia. Yes. What you do every month to realize your targets is very important. So it means you have to do it daily, Vicky. It's like daily, whether you feel like it or you don't feel like it. This is the lifeblood of who you are. You see, that organization you work for, the one who set it up worked at it daily until they could hire you. What about now what is yours? Why do you chill? Just imagine God woke up one day and felt like we should not breathe for one day because he didn't feel like it. And that's what we do to our businesses. Sometimes we wake up and feel like, no, let us sit you leader. When will you feel like it? That's destiny you're playing with. The day you don't feel like it could be the day you need to close a sale. Senjoy would not be here today. How did I meet him? I came from devotions one morning, and I think it was Monday. So I posted on my, an inner voice just told me, take a screenshot of that devotional, post it on your status. I was not intending to share it that day. Of all the 124 viewers on that particular status item, he was the only one who commented. And it was his message. Now, the message dragged him to come and see us. After he saw us, we closed him in. Now, you don't know when you will close the person. Work at it every day. Advertise every day. So for us, what are the things we do to advertise ourselves every day? We have set timelines and said between 7 to 9, all of us have posted something on our status about what we do. Now, what does that do for us is Her networks get to see the product. My networks get to see the product. Her networks get to see the product. So if she has a contact list of 200 people, I have 200, and let's say 5 of us have 200 people. Our product gets to 1,000 people. You get what I mean? So that's also the power of having a team that boosts this that you sell. We'll get to that point where I know some of us will have questions and say, what if I don't have the financial muscle yet to have a team? How do I go about it? We'll get to talk about that at some point. I like this quote very much, is the difference between an average and rockstar salesperson is in the hours they put into the work. If you want to sell average, put 1 hour into your sales. If you want to be a rockstar salesperson, put in more hours into the work. You see, I'll keep rephrasing because I have been in the formal space before. We give our employers 8 hours. You're selling their product for 8 hours, but you can't even give yourself 1 hour. The reason why your employer is performing is because you give them many hours. And then you give yourself the tired version of you. After you're tired, after your brain can no longer accommodate irritating customers, is when you are selling your product. So what are some of the things we did? I ascribed to the team that believe in, we call ourselves the 5 a.m. Club. There is actually an actual book titled The 5 a.m. Club. Success blueprint happens, it's written in the first hours of your morning. Because you're fresh, you're thinking from a rested mind. So in between 5 to 7, think about your business. You may not get your hands in, but the thinking time, the planning time is very important. That time before you get to the office and sit on that computer, think about your business. My team know. While they work with me, they have a target of working with me for not more than 3 years. Because I consider myself a training space. So all of them are working on something of their own, for which they are held accountable to deliver on those products. So they have to come with an answer why they have not worked on their own products. Sometimes I hear the lamest excuses of the time was not there. You had time to sleep up to 7. So what do you mean the time was not there? You had a Sunday after church to think about your product. What excuse do you have for not working on yourself? So for you to be good at it, you have to do it daily so that people reject you daily until rejection becomes a positive thing to your mind. You get? The more people reject what you have, you start thinking to yourself, but why? If you're a believer, like many people in my space, they would think they're dealing with the spirit of rejection. No. There is no such thing that it is the spirit of rejection. Find out why is it that it's yours they're not liking. Could it be the picture quality in which they are delivered? Could it be that you're not talking to anyone? I also tell my team WhatsApp groups don't sell. Don't get your flyer, post it on a WhatsApp group and think you will sell. People are too busy. It's about relationship. Come to my inbox and send me that message. Because when you send to a group, it's not relationship. I don't have a relationship with a group. Come to my inbox, we have a relationship. So for us, we sell to, if we belong to a WhatsApp group, we shift to the other side of the group and text everyone on that group. Whether you know us or you don't know us, we have greeted you. So if we understand it's a church group, because Martin, they are the administrators of our church group. If I posted a business product, they'll come and delete it immediately, you get. But those are part of my networks. I need to sell to them. So I will go to the inbox, the other side, unless I'm reported to the admins of the group that there is a group of people that are always sending us products and that will be a different case. Those ones I will eliminate. But at least we haven't had issues where people are coming to attack because we went to their inbox. What has been the magic for us to sell and close clients that we meet on WhatsApp groups. One, if I understand that Scovia is a church platform, they are a believer. So I will come and greet her. Hello, ma'am. How are you doing? How is ministry? Whether I know whether they are in active ministry or not, we are all somewhat in ministry. So those who are not in active ministry will say, I'm not really in ministry, but church is good. So how is the family? We close it at that. I said, do you mind if you and I became friends? We belong to the same church, but we haven't met. I'm now building rapport on Monday, but the target is to sell to you on Friday. You get? The target is to sell to you on Friday. Many of us just ambush people with flyers. What? You don't even know what I'm going through. So Wednesday, I'll come back again. Hi, it's me again. I just thought about you today. I was just in my quiet time, and I figured I could pray with you. Is there anything you'd like us to pray about together? Today, you stick the prayer item for today. Everyone wants to be prayed for, my dear. So they would probably say, can I call you? Majority have actually told us, can I call you? Then you call. If you're lucky and the prophetic breaks for you, we'll take that direction. If it doesn't take that direction, at least we have prayed together. Then on Friday, I will send you a devotional. Then on Saturday, I will post a sale. So I also deal in these items. Should you be interested or anyone you know in your networks that might be interested in these services, do you mind sharing their number? So I will ask from your network 5 people. I may not close you. So I will ask them, do you care if I tell this person that I got their number from you? Please, it's fine. And they give us their contacts. So Enjoy gave us 5 of his contacts. The other day we contacted them, and they were willing to buy our August service. So we closed them off for August. So you never know, actually. I'm surprised up to now Vicky has never asked me for 20 people in my networks who would be interested in candles. So she didn't know she lost 20 clients in the process. You get? When I sent him to my mom because she runs a pastry something, and because she sells bread, I knew anything got to do with beverages can go with it. So I introduced him to my mom and said, now I marketed his product like I was a long-time consumer. I think even got confused when I was doing the marketing and taking over. Why? Because she's my mom, she knows I can't try to sell her something that is bad. So I did the marketing, believing that the product was as good as I was marketing it at that time. But yeah, it didn't disappoint. It's one of those risky gambles that you take. So what I'm trying to say, that even from this room, there are additional 20 clients for your product that the people in the room actually have. But I think in us, we are not very relational people. But then we say we are created in the image of God. And the God I know is very relational. So I don't know which part of the image we miss there. There are people who would rather stay on WhatsApp, on TikTok, and interact with themselves and people they don't know than actual people that they know. That's why for us in office now, we have time where we are away from our phones. So far, that time we have only given it to the time we go before God. And now when you're working with millennials and the Gen Zs, it's like you've killed them when you take their phones away from them. So we have opted that when you come to the altar, there are no electronic Bibles, hard copy Bibles only. So you can see the tension in the room. The first day was hard because even the clock was not there for them to see how much time have we been here. And they had to be in the presence of God for 4 hours without their phones. Now they are used. So no one even carries their phone because it became normal to go before the presence of the Lord without a phone. So I'm sure now even in church, people wonder why they carry hard copy Bibles. A behavior can be learned. You just have to continuously do it. The main thing we are going to talk about today, even after our tea break, is how do I market? The most important thing is how do I market? All these other things I am saying, you've done them before, you've had them before, but the whole point is your business success is as successful as your marketing. If I can't buy Martin, I can't sell to Martin's networks. You get? So you have to be intentional that for everyone, how do I buy them? What do I even buy from them? You get? So you have to also ask yourself in the questions, in my networks, can they buy me? Can they buy me? Am I convincing enough for them to buy my service? Is a question we should sit back and tell ourselves. I have to be intentional that people buy me. Every day your brain is cracking up. Every day. I hadn't seen the different packages that you had for your scented candles. And when I saw them, I love black and gold. Like, I just have an attachment for black and gold. So when I saw it, I'm like, oh, black and gold would look nice around my bedroom side table. So every day you're creating something for a certain client out there. You see, for instance now, like for me, if you were to do for me cake, it has to be a naked cake. Because I'm not after you icing sugar. So you just need to do a fine naked cake. So when you have a mindset of such people, it means they'll go for things that are black, brown, gold. Then there are those who like the icing sugar. Those ones, it's okay. You sell them the other color. So you have to be intentional. That you even ask the client, how would you want your product packaged? Among the things I liked, how you package your things, is you know that they are breakables. So they come when they are cushioned well. There is no excuse of the item broken away. It's well cushioned. You receive it and you're like, I only paid 50K for this thing. How much has this person invested in your packaging? You are building a brand. This is not where you want to sell your products in a black Kavera, blue Kavera. Everyone has it. Have a personal touch to how you package your things. Like, let people choose you, that if I bought and I am carrying the carrier bag, I can walk with it and walk into Garden City and not feel like everyone is looking at me with my black Kavera. You get? So your packaging matters. Can I carry this? So you're selling to everyone, the one who has a means of transport, and even the ones who have a means of transport, sometimes they're stuck up somewhere and they just want to pick the item and go. Invest in the end product. It informs your pricing. Don't just be in a hurry and say, right now we are pricing low because we want to get customers. Some of these things I am telling you are mistakes we made. When we had just started a juice business, everyone was selling a liter at 10,000. For us, we opted to sell juice at 7,500. Then the profit was not profiting. Now we wanted to shift the price, and it became a real hassle. Like, you tell the client the juice has now shifted to 10,000, and then they're like, what has changed about it? It's still the same packaging. And you cannot even explain to them you're not cutting ends. But then we closed our eyes and said no. And we lost those customers. Had we started on a standardized price, that's why we do market research. What's the price in the market? Don't come and just sell cheap and tell yourself that I am cheap because the other people have a business space. Look into the future and say, when I get a business space, can I still sell at the same price? You get what I mean? And the remaining part of 2024, your blueprint will change. I know that because what we are sharing with you are from the lessons we learned, and then we implemented them. We beat ourselves for the 2 years. We beat ourselves and said, we have beat ourselves enough. Can we step out? Now, I tell my team, because for me, most of my staff are the Gen Zs, so I understand them. So I rebuke things that I shouldn't even be rebuking. The Gen Zs are so comfortable with soft life. Everything is soft for them. You type a very long message, the Gen Zs reply with a sticker. And you're like, wow. And for them, they feel they have communicated. So me, I tell them, you think me, I sat there for 5 minutes typing here a message for you to send me a sticker? Like, please write back, at least it's okay. Don't send me stickers. Do you know how offensive it feels? Like, I don't know if it is me who has a problem, but you type a message and on a whole group, no one even comments. It is stickers, it's the heart. No, what are you communicating? So if all of us now start replying with hearts, and stickers, who is going to communicate to the other? Now, for me, all those are things I am really fighting with my team. And of course, when I tell them, I think in their heads, they're like, but why is she even complaining? It's what the app has. Get along with it. One time, and another thing about, it's now not Gen Zs, because the applications have come to make life complicated for us to have relationship. One of my former bosses, I went to their inbox, and then I found they had a 24-hour disappearing words. And I wrote to them and I said, why am I even chatting with you? Why are my messages disappearing after 24 hours? Then he said, let me remove. Then after he called me and said, Carol, you were the first person to comment about that, and I opted I will not do it again. And I told him, let me tell you, when I see that, like when I go to someone's inbox and I see that, that's, for me, that's the end of conversation with you. I will just pick a phone call because it means you are not interested in retaining our conversation. But someone else will say we are sparing space for our phones. Please go and delete them yourself. Like your business of saying you are sparing space, just go and delete it. It's polite. But you see, you're not going to come and comment about modifications on applications. You don't know why they were developed. But for some of us, it's damaging relationships. So I don't know how many of you do that and you feel comfortable. Like intuition doesn't tell you that what I'm doing, if someone does it to me, how would I feel? Imagine all of us, on all our platforms, we had disappearing messages. You want to come back to recall the message later, and you can't find it, and you don't even recall it. History is being erased because of the comfort of platforms that we are using. But in our marketing, we need history. Sometimes they'll ask you, how much was this item? But you had already erased the memory. Where do you go back from? It's like damaging good memory by deleting it. When you delete, it means you don't need menu space. For me, that's how the old version, me of the 1970s, that's how we feel, of like you're trying to get rid of me in your space. So you're telling me I'm less important. But you want to just show your clients that they are very important. Every communication with them is important. The last bit before we catch a cup of tea that I would want to put for this particular phase. It is very profound for you to be very intentional to keep conversations, whether they turn up or not. If I buy from you once, don't be offended to reach out to me for the next 5 years about your products. Like, show me that I matter. You see, in audit, they keep records for 10 years, 5 years. Why are you deleting yours after a few months? What does that do for you? I tell, I'm a graduate of School of Leadership from Worship Harvest. And I'm writing a book on church growth. I did research recently on church growth, so looking at it from a business perspective. Because evangelism is business. The reason why some churches don't grow in numbers is the communication strategy is not clear. Now, if you borrowed the church metrics for growth, if I only reach to you, St. Joy, when I have an activity, it it means you only want what I have. Be in touch with me every day. By every day, it can be prefixed into a routine. I went to one of the known churches around the city here. I had gone there to a meeting with with the church leader. I signed in the book. Sincerely, I knew how I had left office. I wasn't the smartest person there was. But the reception I got, you change church if you didn't have church. From the entrance, you're welcome, ma'am. So you're here to see Apostle. Who else? What other activity? Because they were having a training at church that day. So I moved from that desk, and then there was a gentleman, a young guy in a suit, and said, ma'am, you're very smart. Can I walk with you to where you're going to sit? Like between the chain to get to where I was supposed, I had talked to 4 people. And everyone is telling you how smart you are. And in my head, I'm like, but I'm not the smartest person. Now, not to flatter anyone. When we walk into a church space, we are sick, we are broken. I am not coming to add me brokenness. You get, of like you're walking with the usher is those saints, you're literally running after the usher. Yeah, like we see that happen. So the experience is customer care. Now, who are the ushers in your business? When you're by yourself, you are the usher, you are the CEO, you are the manager, you are the everything. So you have to give people experience that returns them. In this church, when I went and visited, because I went on a day of a training, they have these trainings once every month. To this day, I still get text messages of the next training, because now I'm in the database. But I hadn't gone for a training. It is over 11 months later, but I still get a text message of when the next training is. I get an appreciation message whenever they're sending appreciation messages for people that turned up and thank you for being part of the ministry. Now, if you borrowed that concept in your business, do you have automated systems to appreciate your clients for the services they buy from you? Because the automated systems can help you also advertise the next product. And by the way, it's not expensive. Bulk SMSs are hardly 30,000. That can accommodate. You can spare that 30,000 every month for your business. Let people experience you until they get tired of you and just say, let me just have this person as a relationship. After a product, like for instance, after this training, if we never sent you a message, sincerely, we would be the biggest hypocrites to even preach what we don't. Now, the experience you get when someone comes back to you, it shows you they treasured that 150,000 you gave them. It means it mattered. But sometimes we tell ourselves, but they only paid 50K. But they only paid 30K. But the product was 5,000. It's not their fault that it was 5,000. You sold it to them at 5,000. But they want you to treat them like the kings they are. So as we break off for tea, and we come back and only put an outlay of marketing, what we call marketing 101, for the next 6 months, how do you close that 50 million sale if your target is 50 million in the next 5 months? What do you need to do to get the 50 million? You get what I mean? Because we all have that financial figure in our heads that as we're going for break, I want us to reflect. If you didn't have that financial target at the beginning of the year, tell yourself what would look like financial freedom in the next 6 months. Yeah? Financial freedom to me means if they give me that money now, I can go to a beach somewhere and chill for the next 12 months, and systems will not break in my home. That's financial freedom. If a sickness came and it needed me to fly someone to India, I will not need to form a WhatsApp group. That's financial freedom. Now, you may not achieve that in 6 months, but I want us to dream it in 6 months. Then you hit yourself knowing, I'm hitting the road to make a dream come true, I'm hitting the road to build legacy. But legacy starts with you saying, I am breaking the shell of comfort, I'm breaking the shackles of procrastination, and I'm hitting the road because this thing, because I started it, will work. If it works for you, if it works in your vision, surely it can work on earth. Now give us that vision and give us in reality.